The gangsters demanded tribute from the grandfather, but they didn't know who would stand up for him. The morning was cold and gray as Nikolai dragged his rickety wooden crate next to the market stall. His movements were slow, his joints stiff from age and cold, but a flicker of pride still burned in his eyes. With trembling hands, he arranged red, speckled apples on an old oilcloth that was more patchwork than fabric. Each apple came from his small garden on the outskirts of town, the last remnants of a life once full of hope. People passed him by without a glance, some nodded, few bought. But Nikolai was content, as long as he earned enough for bread, tea, and a bit of fuel. Around midday, 3 men appeared, broad-shouldered, smug, in dark jackets that offered more menace than warmth. The leader, a bald man with icy eyes, stepped directly up to the stall. "Nice spot you got here, old man," he said, leaning over the apples. "You know what a spot like this costs?" Nikolai slowly straightened up, his back cracking. "I already pay the market fee," he replied calmly. "Not to us," the second man said, spitting on the ground with a smirk. Then came the word that changed everything: tribute. Nikolai knew he didn't stand a chance. His hands clenched the edge of the apple cloth. "I barely have enough for myself," he muttered. But the men didn't care. One kicked over his crate, another crushed an apple in his bare hand. "Bring money tomorrow, or there won't be a stall left." Then they vanished, as if nothing had happened. Nikolai was left alone, and the cold had settled not only into his bones, but into his heart. The next day, the men returned, louder, more arrogant, more cruel. The market was busy. The sun had broken through the gray clouds, but Nikolai felt only cold. Without warning, one of the gangsters grabbed him by the jacket and shoved him against his own apple crate. The fruit scattered across the asphalt with wet thuds, some bursting open, their sweetness mixing with dust and dirt. "Where's our money, old man?" mocked the leader while the others laughed. Nikolai stumbled, leaning on his bench, his face pale, but his eyes still burning with pride. "I have nothing for you." The scene drew attention. Bystanders stopped, but no one said a word. A woman turned away. A man pulled his child aside. One person lifted a phone and filmed secretly. The men jeered, stomped on the remaining apples, then left as if nothing had happened. Nikolai remained behind, hunched over his crushed goods, tears slowly running down his cheeks, not from fear, but from the deep pain of losing his dignity in front of everyone. And no one had stepped in. That night, Nikolai sat alone on his narrow bed, the window half open to the dark sky. Beside him, a half-full cup of tea steamed quietly, his hands folded calmly in his lap. "If you're still alive, if you can hear me," he whispered, his voice fragile. "Come back, my son." It wasn't a prayer to God. It was a cry into the void. His son Alexei had been missing for years in the war. No grave, no message, only hope. And tonight, it was spoken aloud one last time. The next morning begins like any other. With tired hands, Nikolai sets up his apple stand, his movements slower, his gaze vacant. The traces of the last attack are still visible: a torn coat, a gash above his eye, and dented crates. The air smells of snow and silence. But still, Nikolai stands there, like every day. When the gangsters show up again, wide-legged and smirking, it seems the scene is about to repeat itself. But this time something happens that silences even them. A man in military uniform calmly steps beside Nikolai, tall with sharp eyes, marked scars, and a look that has seen years of battle. "Touch him, and I'll show you what real fear feels like." His voice cuts through the market silence like a blade. The gang hesitates. One laughs nervously. "What are you gonna do, soldier?" "I'm Alexei, the son of the man you treated like dirt." No one says a word for a moment. Then Alexei steps forward. His stance is not full of rage, but cold determination. He moves in a flash, an arm lock, a kick, a heavy thud. 2 men are left gasping on the ground. The third raises his hands and runs, The onlookers no longer turn away. No applause breaks out, but in their eyes lies something new: recognition, and finally, respect. Nikolai stands frozen. Tears fill his eyes, his lips tremble. "Alexei," he whispers. His son nods and places a hand on his shoulder, calm, protective. "I saw what happened, Father. I knew I had to return. It's over now." For a moment they just stand there, surrounded by the noise of the market slowly returning to life. But in that moment, something is restored that had long been lost: dignity, pride, family. Morning breaks, and the first rays of sunlight sweep across the marketplace, a place once marked by shame and violence. Nikolai sits once more on his old bench, his crate of apples neatly arranged, his shoulders held a little higher. Next to him stands Alexei, dressed in civilian clothes, but carrying the posture of a man who has seen life and survived it. The market vendors who once remained silent now nod to him. A brief glance is enough to say, they remember. And they are grateful that someone finally stood up. A hand-painted sign hangs from the apple stand. It's simple, but its message is powerful. No gangsters rule here. Here, dignity lives. No official protection, no police. Just a son who returned, and a father who never gave up. People are buying from Nikolai again, not just for the apples, but because they know this place now offers more than fruit. It is a place where respect has taken root again. Children laugh, and a little girl hands Nikolai a flower, which he accepts with trembling fingers. As the market hums with activity, Nikolai sits quietly. There's a glow in his eyes that had been absent for a long time. No wealth, no fame, but peace. A peace that doesn't arrive with noise, but lives quietly between the lines. And maybe that's all he ever wished for. Not revenge, not pity. Just to be seen, and never be alone again. Some stories aren't about grand heroes or epic battles. They are about old hands that were once strong, about hearts that never stopped hoping, and about the power of family which can break through even the hardest concrete. Nikolai never lost his dignity, not even when everything else was taken from him. But only through the return of his son did that dignity regain a voice, and a face no one will ever forget. The story of Nikolai and Alexei reminds us that it's never too late to stand up for what's right. That one person or one moment can change everything, and that even on the grayest streets hope can grow if someone has the courage to stay. If this story moved you, give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more true stories about courage, love, and unforgettable turns. Share this video with someone who believes in second chances, because sometimes the greatest miracles